Recording in progress. So this is what I call the power chord switcheroo, patent pending. Power chords are built out of roots, fifths, and octaves if you're going to get jiggy with it. A 3-string power chord. Root, fifth, octave. But another cool thing that you can do is you can invert, and so that puts the root in the bass, I should say. Root, fifth, octave. But if you just release your third finger and now play root, well, actually this becomes fifth, root, fifth. Especially if you have a bass player who's moving, let's see. Oh, this is where I'm going to have to retune because I was hoping to avoid that. I'm in dadgad right now, but with the dadgad or a drop D tuning, you can move thusly, and that sort of makes my point. Is you get this bass moving. And then to change chords, you don't even have to change positions. And you can create some kind of weird and interesting moves if you go. And it makes the movement of your hand a little more efficient. Whilst creating a little bit of motion, shall we say oblique motion. Oblique motion is when one voice stays the same and the other voice moves. If I just do it on 2 strings, maybe it's easier to hear. Yeah, it certainly is. And that's kind of cool, you know. If I do root, fifth, fifth root. So I'll call out the fret numbers because it's probably a little small on your screen, but so maybe like that. And so I'll go like 7, 9, 7, 7, 6, 8, 6, 6, 5, 7, 5, 5. So you get some nice harmonic movement in there. It's easy to do. If you had another guitar playing the upper voices, perhaps, that would be kind of fun. I need to tune for a second, so we'll break when I do that. It's very, very fun. And you can move that around different ways, too. You could do, like, that way, or you could go up. And I'm confident that you're a very creative person and you'll go and find a lot of weird things to do with that. So, as I like to say, ayo, 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 ayo. Oh, we're talking about this little patent pending, blah, 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 chord switcheroo. Okay, and muting and getting these smooth. Oh, so let's see. Okay, a couple of a little rattle in there. Ooh, naughty. Okay, so I'm actually using the tip of my index finger to touch the 6th string right there. Come on, focus, little Samsung camera. Well, good enough. So that if I inadvertently hit it with the pick, or maybe want to create a little more rocking oomph by getting a little chuk out of that string, that's one technique for muting that 6th string, so I'm only getting 3 strings. The other technique is to not hit it. And another one that's really, really good is put your palms so that it's actually only on the 6th string. That takes some doing. And need some working on, and quite honestly, you then have to really work on how you strike the strings. It's kind of interesting because what I end up doing when I'm playing this way, and I suspect a lot of the metal guys do this, but I don't really know, is I'm actually using this motion. Let me get this right on the camera, of my hand like this. That's some crazy purple lighting now. So, but I'm actually using an extension of the hand this way, right? And the motion, rather than it being a side to side deviation of the wrist like this, it's actually, I'm rotating my forearm out. Let me show you. Let me like zoom out. A little too much. I'm actually rotating out, so my palm is up slightly in order to do this. And so that then it allows me to create this. See that? You can really see the extension of the wrist there. There's probably a little bit of the deviation towards the pinky too. It comes from a really, you know, I'm an 80s kid, so really palm muted. If you palm mute all this stuff. But if you want to get it more open, but you want to really damp this 6th string, I would still probably mute a little bit on the 6th string. And it kind of, it's fun because it sounds like the harmonies, melting a little bit when you go down by half steps like that. If you wanted to name these chords as you were playing them, and I know you don't care, but some people in the world do. So, you know, why not? You know, it's something humans do, name stuff. Okay, so this would be an E chord, E5 if you like, an E power chord, root 5th octave. And that's an A chord when I take my ring finger off there. And then when I go down, E flat, A flat, G, wait, what? Say that again. D, G, D flat, G flat, or call that F sharp, C, F. So you're going, you're doing a sort of circle of fifths movement by moving down like a little circle of fifths chunk, down a fifth, up a tritone. If you do it slow and do a decrescendo, it really enhances the melting effect. And you could do it in reverse too. F, C, D flat, and so forth and so on. So it's you know, you could or move by whole step, or then get creative and go down a whole step, and then up a third. You do this stuff already. Okay, have fun. Whatever you do, try to make it sound like Cheap Trick or 38 Special. Okay, cool.
Cheap
I know
Trick.
those are both totally your jams.
I'm gonna go with the Cheap Trick.
Oh, you like Cheap Trick? All right, we dig that. Cool. And another thing, as Columbo would say. Oh, drat, I tuned my E string up to E. But if you were, say,
D.
A fan of the drop D, as I know you are, because everybody likes to drop their D. Oh, wait, that's not good. Well, this will involve actually alternately muting the dreaded sixth string and not, or playing it and not. So let's show you the right hand on that. Like, if I play 3 strings and then 4 strings with that drop D, you can get some real nice nastiness out of that. But that'll require you to get a little bit more accurate with the right hand and play 3 strings and then 4 strings. So, and that's, yeah, try it. Try it. Go ahead.
So when I come off the third string or fourth string, then that's when I want to hit.
Yes, sir. But you want to fret the 6th string with your first finger as well. And that might be a good stepping stone towards figuring out how to mute that string with your tip of your index finger.
Are you always, so one pass you're muting it and the other pass you're pressing on it?
Okay. You can do that. That'll work. You can, so you can like see, I gotta work out my camera angles, Mo, but so hang on a second. You can move the finger over, right? So you're playing this, just 3 strings, and then playing 4, sorry. Hold on.
That seems like a lot of work.
Right. And it's harder to get smooth fast. So instead, perhaps keeping the index finger up here. Oh boy, and this involves some fancy footwork over here. Is that if you mute and then don't mute, so it's like you put the palm down on the 6th string and then lift it up. It's nice because you get kind of a 2-stroke engine motion here. It's like one strum is with the palm down and one strum is up. So it actually makes it a little easier to do. Oh, I'm doing the opposite. There we go. See that? Show you the other angle.
That has a real.
That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. When I put this video up, watch this thing that I'm doing. Watch this thing that I'm doing, the way my right hand is moving, right? Because, hold on, let me pin this so I can see it. So it's like when I'm playing all 4 strings, I'll really exaggerate it. Hold on. Like my wrist is really arched, exaggerated. And then when I come down to mute the 6th string, it's more flat. And then you'll make it much smaller. And you can really, really exaggerate that. Now, I'll just say, if you have a bass player, you don't need to do any of that stuff. And don't. You know what I mean? Unless you really want to make it super grunge sounding, but I mean, yeah, that's cool. People are into that, so I shouldn't, yuck your yum. So I'll just say that's super cool, but I like a little more tight definition in my bass. Like my bottom end, never mind. Okay.
You still on camera there? Yes.
I know it. You know, I never professed that this was a kids channel. I mean, if you can't look, I didn't get into the rock business to not innuendo, right? Like the Spinal Tap business. Come on. Okay, fine. So, like my point is simply, hey, I showed you this cool trick to do with using 4 strings so that you can kind of create some fake bass motion in there yourself. And that might be a cool thing, a cool trick to do. But if you've got a bass player, you can count on them for that bass motion, and you can just play these. You can play that, and actually having that separation of an octave sounds really, really cool. I like it. You know, it's you know, generally regarded as good arranging practice until those rascals of the 90s decided to grunge it all up. Okay, which is cool too. So rolling. What were you saying?
So I do this thing when I come back up the neck. I can be precise on the way down, and on the way up, it's either I'm choking up too tight, and when I try to move, one, I lose the shape, but I get stuck like just short of the fret I'm supposed to be back on, or I overshoot. There's like a
Okay.
lack of precision on coming back to where I need to be.
Let's see you do it a few times and figure this out.
Well,
okay. Would you say that you're experiencing it there or not?
Not as much as I normally do.
So clearly what you need to do to solve the problem is have an audience more.
Well, or I one of the things I've been actively trying to practice is not squeezing the whole thing to death, because I think that's causing like the
without a doubt, if you're squeezing too much, that'll complicate that. And I mean, I was just being silly about having an audience, but you're that much more self-aware. So the thing that I notice is that as you start to move around more and more freely, like it kind of up and down the neck more, and let's see, I really need to get my set together. So let's see here. It was when you jumped up here that I noticed that you were a little bit shy of the fret, and you only went there once. So my sense is, oh, you need, I don't remember what the transition was from. Like, that's a huge jump. The bigger the jump. Oh, well, a couple things. Okay. So if you're having a hard time with a long jump, it's like the athletic thing of looking the ball in when you're throwing it, is that you want to be here and you want to look to the spot that you're going to jump to before you get there. And I just noticed actually my grip distorted a little bit when I did it. That's a big jump. So you got to practice that specific jump. The other thing that I notice is that your index finger tends to creep in towards your other fingers. That's why I saw you do that a lot before, and that would be more of a primary concern for me, because it's gonna kind of mute that A string, or maybe pull it out of tune, otherwise kind of distort in an undesirable fashion what you're trying to do. And so, and that too can come from gripping too hard. I think you're being pretty insightful about that. A lot of people think that, and this is just a helpful rule of thumb, is to just kind of bring your thumb in to your fingers like so, and think about that on the back of the neck. My friend Goody says like beak hand, and I really really like this. Sometimes for certain things you might move the thumb into other positions, and different people's thumbs. There are other options, but it's a good general starting point. So playing around with that to sort of lessen how much you're really squeezing, so you can be a little bit light and being conscious of where the thumb is. And and then just thinking about how much you're pressing with the tip of the finger, or if you're muting the sixth string, observing, oh, you can see like my index finger is a little bit straighter there. It's definitely got a curve to it, and I'm a little bit on the side of the finger, but I'm taking care to not sort of creep it over the fret. It sort of looks like it's a bit over the fret, but where I'm actually pressing it down is just slightly behind it.
Well, one thing, I mean, being able to even move this much is a brand new thing for me. It's like it's literally like the last 2 or 3 weeks, and today was really like, oh, I don't have to grip as tight.
No.
And all of a sudden, it started sounding better. But I noticed that it was much easier to come back as I
yeah, for sure, for sure.
But yeah, coming up high, the frets get narrower, and that's where I definitely feel like, oh man, that's tough, and that's a new thing too. Normally, I'm this is my comfort zone, and I'm like,
right,
I'm stretching.
Guitarists, like, it's very tempting to think of this as just a grid where everything is equal, but what you're talking about is very true. Everything is not equal. These things get closer together as you move up the neck, and OBS decides to take a nap at a certain point in every session for whatever reason. Hold on a second. Right. So we're talking about each jump is a little bit different. So when you get to these places, and it's going to force you to say, oh, hey, I need to work on that jump. And you're going to find, for me in my hands, like, or I should say my hand, my left hand, things start to break down 3-string power chord style, like maybe at 12 and 14. Like I could, but I probably wouldn't. If I really needed to play a 3-string power chord above the 12th fret like that, I would start playing, but I just, honestly, I just wouldn't. I mean, that seems weird to say, but I wouldn't. I might play it there if I needed to. I would move it over to the fourth and third and second string.
Yeah, you'll find a different way to play it that's more comfortable.
And I don't know. You know, if I'm playing, at least for the style of music that I generally make, if I'm playing in that register, I'm probably not going to use those voicings. Like, I'm going to use those power chord voicings a little lower, and I'm going to use other things a little higher. But
yeah,
I have a limited imagination, so. There too, it looks like you're maybe grip of deathing it a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely getting better, and I can move this around much more than ever before. But I'm still like it hurts after, and it really shouldn't. So.
No, right. And are you doing the thing like at the beginning of your practice, kind of calibrating your pressure?
Not often enough.
Do you feel the shame?
Yes, I do. As I admit to it, it's like I didn't floss as much as I should have.
Yeah. So, oh, okay. Yeah, I really recommend that as just a way of, and you can start it like whatever you do when you first pick up the guitar on a given day. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be these exercises we're talking about. You could just start by playing one note And you're moving and just say one note and just noticing how much pressure you need to push the string down. String down. Like so. And then try a couple of strings. And then change the volume with your right hand, noticing or taking care not to really increase the pressure too much with your left hand. Practice dynamics with the right hand as you're doing it. And while you're doing that, take care to not push this hand too much. And it just makes you aware, and just you spend a few minutes there when you start your practicing, so that you notice later on when you're grip of deathing it. Like, what you want is for it to become a habit when you pick up the guitar, to notice how much pressure you're using. So you want to spend a few conscious minutes focused on how much pressure you're using.
Well, it's also like this is the guitar that's the most sensitive to like that distorted pitch when I immediately I hear it when I do it, because it's not forgiving at all.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the other guitars I have, there's a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah, this guitar can be a little screwy that way too, because I have lighter strings on this guitar. But yeah, I know of what you speak. Nice. Okay. I'm gonna pause this for a second. Okay. Talking about moving this grip. A lot of times in playing jazz, you would probably actually just play like something staccato to make that change, rather than really trying to get that to flow legato, because it is very challenging. And I really find that I'm on the funny thing is that, and like, it's funny to say this, but I just probably wouldn't do it. I would probably do, instead of that, play just three voices. I would probably only play those three, and then maybe, or like these three, fourth string, third string, second string, and then on the next chord play fifth string, third string, second string. And then I get more interesting motion anyway. As opposed to having like big chunk. So that I would almost certainly play them that way, or maybe some other, maybe 4-3-2 and 4-3-2. It's a slightly different thing. This is G major 7, and then this becomes like what is that, a F sharp minor chord, or G major 7 no fifth, D major 7 no fifth, which is a very like authentic jazz way to do it. If you're going to leave a note out of the chord, you leave the fifth out. It's there in the harmonic series of the chord anyway, so you can kind of take it for granted unless you're flatting it. And the chord progression, the harmonic context will tell you a lot about that too. But so in other words, we looked at these grips so that you would know what these inversions are. But a lot of times I like to say, and I really do believe this, that we're more formed by our limitations than we are by our talents. And so, if that's difficult, then find a cooler, easier way to do it. Groovy. And I think one way that I would do that is just simply playing three voices at a time. And you can move these around the same way we were just moving down, by whole step. Right? Whoops, what was I doing? Oh, better like this down a fifth, so.
Yeah, I love
G.
that.
And see, this way you have bass and you have guitar at the same time. I'm moving a bass. And it's nice because I'm going, let's see, A, D, G, C, F, B flat, A. And then it circles around. And it's A major 7, D major 7, G major 7, C major 7, F major 7, B flat major 7. And then just when we get to that last one, maybe put in 4 voices. And because you have an open A string, maybe you play the first one with the open A string bass.
Does that have sort of a samba feel to it to you?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I would call that kind of a song. I'll candidly say that I don't have the nomenclature for the Latin grooves enough. I really don't. So yeah, it's kind of a fake Latin groove. I would call that a fake Latin groove. That's what I would, the precise
That's the
name.
technical term.
Okay,
Well,
fair
that
enough.
was cool. I quite enjoyed